Please enjoy this uninterrupted conversation as part of our academic integrity series brought to you by Integrity for Education. Integrity for Education supports your institution by unlocking the full potential of digitalization through the right mix of software solutions, strategic consulting, and sustainable implementation of state of the art technologies. Learn more at integrityforeducation.de. That's integrity, the number 4, education.de. Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to ed up on the Ed Up Experience podcast, where we make education your business. This is Elvin Freitas, co-founder of the Ed Up Experience. We are back on another episode of our academic integrity series, sponsored by Integrity for Education. Speaking of, I have with me my co-host. He's the CEO of Integrity for Education. He is Thomas Fetch, coming in from Germany. Tommy, how's Germany today?
Oh, Germany is fine today. Well, okay. I'm very happy to be here with you in a hopefully fun and exciting conversation about academic integrity.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know how we work, Tommy. We give it to, so let me bring her in. She is Patricia Salkin, and she is Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs and Provost for the Graduate and Professional Divisions and Professor of Law at Touro University. Patty, how you doing today?
Good. How are you, Elvin and Tom? Nice to see you.
Absolutely.
Nice
Doing
to see you too.
fantastic. Thanks for being here. Really appreciate it. We like to jump right in, Patty. So tell us all about Touro University. What do you do? How do you do it?
Well, thanks for asking about Touro. We're about 53 years old. We started with about a couple of dozen students in Midtown Manhattan. And today we are about 20,000 students in 7 states and 4 countries. 3/4 of our students are graduate and professional students. The other quarter, obviously, undergraduate students. We have a combination of, we're basically an in-person school, but we offer some online and hybrid courses and programs as well, depending upon the discipline. And the most interesting fact that most people don't realize is that after the public systems in Texas and California, so the Texas University system and the California University system, we are the largest graduator of medical and healthcare professionals in the United States. And so medical schools all over the country, a couple of dental schools now in different states, pharmacy schools in different states. We recently acquired the New York College of Podiatric Medicine. So as of January, that's now part of Touro University. And so we are a school that is definitely on the move.
Yeah, that's amazing. And before I kick it over to Tommy, I just want to follow up. And I know you have an interesting history, and I was wondering if you could talk about that history, about how you were founded.
Touro was founded about 53 years ago in Midtown Manhattan by Dr. Bernard Lander, and we are today the largest university in the United States that was founded under Jewish auspices. We started with about 24 students in Midtown Manhattan. And as I mentioned today, we're about 20,000 students in 7 states and 4 countries.
Wow, that's fantastic. So I'll bring it over to Tommy. Go for it, Tom.
Yeah. So, Patty, nice meeting you, and it's an amazing story. So, see how that evolved over time sounds amazing to me. Since we talk about academic integrity, the first question, easy one, what would you consider being the biggest threat to academic integrity at the moment in your institution?
So I think just in general, I'm not going to bring it specific to the institution because I think that the playing field is different and we're talking generalities. You know, academic integrity to me means that the students and the faculty are using their own creativity and their own intellectual endeavors, and they are responsible for their own work, and it's coming from them, from their brain, and they're not taking somebody else's work, and obviously they're not cheating on an exam or on writing a paper. And I would say that generally people are honest. Students are honest and faculty are honest. You know, I teach, I have taught, and I write in the area of ethics and government ethics. And, you know, I have to remind people that you always see that article in the newspaper about somebody who did something that was alleged to be unethical. But there are tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of people who don't do that. And so, it always makes the news when there's a scandal or when somebody does something wrong. But when you consider the magnitude of the number of people that are involved in higher education, and then when you think about, okay, everybody can find that story of that person who did not proceed with integrity, and you're horrified. But then when you realize that there are so many other people, way more, that do every single day, we're not in a crisis by any stretch of the imagination.
So I understand that you trust in people and their ethical behavior. I understand that. That's great. So that is the right approach, in my opinion. And I agree that most of the people will act like ethical. Other than that, do you apply technology to tackle academic integrity issues or academic dishonesty?
Well, yes, in different ways, and the technology is always getting better. And of course, you have to stay ahead of the curve because sometimes you have people that get tempted to act in a unethical way, and they use technology to do that as well. So, I think like most schools, we have a learning management system. So in our institution, we use Canvas today. And, and built into Canvas, there is a check on, for example, I teach every fall semester at Touro's Law School, and my students write a paper. And so along the way, they're submitting drafts and outlines and so forth. And there's a check that when they submit it and it goes through the system, I get a percentage from the Canvas, from the computer software, of what percentage they think that might not be the student's own work product. Except you have to be careful, because what does that mean? It does not necessarily mean that the student, quote unquote, cheated. It could be that the student put quotes around something and didn't drop a footnote, or even if they did drop a footnote, the software may be just picking up that sentence structure or that paragraph appeared someplace else. And so it's really up to the faculty member to go back and then check to see, exactly what is it that the software, that the technology is picking up on. So, I have been at another institution that I was at. I had a student submit a paper that blatantly, it was better written than I could have done. And, and then I went and found the book and the article where everything was taken word for word, and there were no quotes and there were no footnotes, and that's blatant, as opposed to now you start to go on a sliding scale in order to figure out what is and isn't appropriate.
Right. Yeah. So I think that's also part of faculty to figure out what is appropriate, to also set the rules, and maybe also level the playing field in a way that everyone knows what can be done, what can't be done. Citations, I think, is a big topic. Talking about that kind of assignment structure and stuff. Yeah,
And
I get that.
and like many other institutions, we use for high stakes exams, for midterms and final exams, we use proctors, and that's no different than licensure exams. As I mentioned, 3/4 of our students are graduate and professional students, and the overwhelming majority of them are in professions that require a licensure exam. And so we also try to make sure that we're simulating the same kinds of rules when we give those exams, so there's no surprises for the students. So, there's two ways if you're giving an exam that's an in-person exam. You're in a classroom or a lecture hall with many other students, and there are proctors, but we also have cameras in the classrooms as well. And, they were there initially um, a lot for COVID purposes, for teaching with cameras in the classroom so that faculty could remote out. And now they have another use as well. And then there are many students today that are awarded granted accommodations, and they need to take their test in a private room. And those rooms also, You're not going to have somebody sit there and stare at the student as they're writing their exam, but there's a camera there so that if there is any, concern, and those cameras are remotely monitored by staff because there may be multiple students in multiple rooms taking an exam in
Sure.
that way.
Yeah, I get it. I just recently, just today, honestly, I read an article about Perplexity, like this new AI model and agentic AI that is able to solve questions and assessments automatically. And I think the student released something a week ago, and the CEO blatantly wrote in the internet, "Don't do this," but actually it happened. So I think this is a new level of cheating we encounter now, since AI is not only a question answer machine, but with agentic AI, you can really get AI in a position to do the job for you, not moving a finger. Have you heard about that? And is that is that concerning? Does that sound concerning to you?
So, yes and no. You can take ownership over AI as an academic institution and a faculty, and that's something that our institution, that Touro University, is doing, and I'll explain how we're doing that. But you know, you could use AI to cheat if nobody else is using AI or thinking about it, or you could use AI as a powerful tool to help train the next generation of professions as to how AI is a useful tool. It still requires critical thinking. It still requires skill in order to use it. So, for example, I'll just give you a little tee up as to what Touro's doing and then give you some examples. So this fall semester, we advertised for the faculty innovation grants in AI. And any faculty member who applied got a small grant, and their task over the summer and into the fall semester was to come up with at least one way that they could use AI in the classroom with the students to show students the responsible and ethical use of AI, again, in a managed classroom way. And so,
That's a good idea.
I'll just give you some low hanging fruit examples. When you say AI can tell you anything, it really depends what you ask AI and how you ask it, and how you're framing the question. It's called a prompt.
Yeah.
And students don't ask the same question or ask with the same degree of information. And so the first thing that we can do is teach our students how to frame a prompt to ask AI a question. That requires critical thinking on the part of
Yeah.
students and on the part of faculty. The machine's not doing that thinking for us. The machine is only answering what it's been asked and how it interprets what it's been asked. And so getting those prompts right and showing students working in teams how different prompts will yield different results then gets the students to critically think and realize that I might not be getting the answer that's the correct answer based on what I'm asking. And again, in looking for what is that correct answer, we all know that AI is still developing. It's always going to be developing, right? It's never going to be perfection. Our brains aren't perfection either. We're constantly evolving in our knowledge and in science. And so,
Hopefully.
right. And so, the question is, how do you know what AI spits back at you is correct? Because we've all read articles of hallucinations or
Yes.
false statements that you would read as an output as factual, but indeed it's not a fact. And then AI will give you citations if you ask it for citations. But if you go to the citations, sometimes they're made up citations. And sometimes they don't say exactly what AI said that they said. And so
Yeah.
as you know from my introduction, I'm a lawyer. And so, you can get a summary from a law case, but was what somebody else wrote the summary of, because AI is picking up like head notes or case notes at the beginning of a case that somebody else did. and that's their summary. But sometimes there's a gem of a sentence, or the way that something had a comma or didn't have a comma, or the end or the or choice of words that to a lawyer, in critical thinking makes a difference. And AI
Never. Absolutely.
is
Yeah.
not yet ready to pick that up. So there are ways that we can use it effectively, and it is definitely can be a time saver, and can be a time saver in terms of forms and other things that you don't have to rekey into, a word processor. But, every client is different, and every municipality, every government that hires a lawyer to do something, they're different, and it's very fact specific. And so you're getting some generalities, and then you still have to go in and do the job yourself. So, that's just an example of, how we're having the faculty do it. We're also having the faculty, some faculty are saying, ask AI to give you an essay on this topic. Then, depending upon the prompt, the students may not get the exact same essay. And then the job is now go and look at every sentence and cite check it and fact check it and tell us what AI was right about and tell us what AI missed the boat on. And so again, the student, I don't think we're going to prevent students from using it, nor do I think we should, because the world is using it and it's going to be used. I think our job
Absolutely.
is to ensure that we're teaching our students critical thinking and that we're teaching our students how to effectively use a tool to help them and society as we move forward in all of the different disciplines.
Yeah, makes sense to me. Sounds pretty good, and those are low hanging fruits for sure. So I just had a discussion yesterday, and there is always this comparison when the calculator entered the classroom as a learning aid or like a a tool you can use in assessment. And often AI is compared with the calculator, which I think it's in a way makes sense, but the calculator is a way too basic tool to compare it with AI and the possibilities you will have with AI. So would you buy into the thesis? So if AI is helping us tremendously in solving like tasks quicker or more difficult tasks quicker, would it be a way to make the task harder, more difficult for the students so that it's in a way compensated? You know what I mean? So the direction I'm going?
Yeah, but I'm not I don't necessarily think so, because let's take, for example, the calculator, and let's take a math class. Right? If you remember back to high school math, the teacher would say, okay, it's not enough that you got the answer, because the calculator will give you the answer. Show your work. Show us how you got that answer. And I think that that's how you use AI as well. Show us how you got there and what's the proof, right? So in geometry and in algebra trig, you had to show the proof of how that answer was the right answer. And so again, it's all in the assignment for the student. And so, if the student is going to use AI to get data and information, I have my students this semester, I said, cite to AI, and this is how you're going to cite to it. You're going to tell me what platform you used. You're going to tell me what prompt you used. And then you're going to tell me the date that it gave you that information. Because with generative AI, it's going to change. It may change by the minute, and so
It is.
right,
It
and
is.
so again, making sure that the students know that it's not their own thought, but how did they get to that answer? And then, it's the next step of verifying that what you got is actually accurate. And I liken it more to the internet than to the calculator, because it's the same thing. But, early on, when Wikipedia first started, everybody was upset that students were going to just take biographical information and other facts from Wikipedia. But Wikipedia is what? It's the same thing. Now AI on steroids is like Wikipedia, because it's people that are just adding to Wikipedia pages. And you don't know 100% if what they're adding is accurate, and how they're adding it and the date that they're adding it. Now, you could go into the metadata in Wikipedia and find that out, I'm not sure yet how to find all of that out in AI. But again, I think embracing the technology and then working with it and staying ahead of it. And one way that Touro has been doing this, a year ago, this past January, we were, I believe, the first university to hire an associate provost for AI. And so we have been at this now for a couple of years with the administration and with the faculty. Just last month, we had a workshop for students on AI. We have been doing boot camps and workshops for faculty on almost a weekly basis for the last year and a half. And everything is recorded, so our faculty and students can access it for the training. And that's in addition to embedding AI into the individual courses, which is what we have been working with the faculty on through the Faculty Innovation Grant. And we now have a post-bac certificate in AI and a master's in AI, and we're putting concentrations into our undergraduate programs in AI as well, because that is one of the skills that the workforce needs, not just of tomorrow, but of today.
Yeah, true. I believe. Maybe just one question back to academic integrity. So I think we talked about AI and the possible threats that come from it, but also like the opportunities we have. And but are there any other threats to academic integrity outside AI, like standard cheating, classic cheating, or something you observe? What do you think you need to do anything about it? Create a workflow? I don't know, to track this, or is that a topic on your campus?
So we have an academic integrity council that is made up of an academic integrity officer from every single program and every discipline that Touro offers throughout the system. So all of the states, all of the campuses, all of the programs are represented because our academic integrity policy is really implemented and overseen at the school level, but it is a university-wide policy. And we spent time over the summer developing an addendum to the academic integrity policy specifically about AI. It's called the AI addendum to our academic integrity policy. And again, AI can mean academic integrity, but it can also mean artificial intelligence. So we're referring to AI as artificial intelligence and then saying the full name of academic integrity. And the policy that was agreed upon was that it is up to the faculty, but the faculty must communicate to the students because it's only fair. You can't surprise the students. The students have to know what the expectation is. So our university default is that students may use AI. That's the default.
Mm-hmm.
However, a faculty member has a right to say, in my course, you may not use AI, period. And that's okay. Or the faculty member may say, you can use AI for anything if you cite it. Or the faculty member may say, on some assignments, you can use AI, and on some assignments, you can't. And I'm going to specifically tell you in writing, in the syllabus, and in the assignment sheet, when you can and can't use it. Because I think, that's part of academic integrity too. You can't have a faculty member accuse a student of cheating if the faculty member didn't identify what the faculty member considers cheating to be, right? Because it is a big accusation and it can ruin a student's career, if they honestly didn't know.
Yeah, right. Unintended cheating, I think, is a big topic. Absolutely unintended, because I didn't know and I just ran in the situation. So at least I need to have knowledge about what's allowed and what's not allowed.
Right.
Yeah, true. Okay. Yeah, that sounds great. And so you have an office for academic integrity, and obviously a position, a person, or a team that is taking care of that. And you also did you come up with some kind of workflow if you see cheating, not using technology? It's not only about technology. It's also like sometimes faculty observes a lot. They know their students. So is there a process, a way to track that and also like maybe consolidate it?
Yeah. So I would say a couple of things. We don't have a quote unquote office of academic integrity and one person whose sole job is academic integrity, because I think that would make an assumption that there's a lot of cheating going on and that it's a full-time job. And that's not the case. So what we have is a university-wide academic integrity council. The council is co-chaired by three senior academic leaders around the system. And then it consists of the chief academic integrity officer for each campus. So every school or program has somebody designated as the chief academic integrity officer. It can be a faculty member. It could be an academic affairs dean. It could be a dean of students. It's up to the program to decide who they want to be their chief academic integrity officer. That person is responsible for making sure that the faculty in their program are up to date on the academic integrity policy. It's part of our university documentation and the handbooks and so forth, but people need reminders, right? And then, and then the policy is very detailed in terms of when a faculty member or another student or a proctor thinks that a student may have cheated or may have violated the academic integrity policy. And there's a whole workflow of what happens, right? So if somebody has been accused of cheating, then there's an investigation, right? And so, and it's done at the school level. It's not done centrally, with lawyers and everything. I mean, it's looking to see, let's get the facts, because, maybe somebody thought they saw something, but they didn't, or maybe they saw it and it was on camera or whatever. But, again, because it's a serious allegation, I think that you have to do your due diligence. And so you look to see if there are facts or evidence that can be ascertained, and then the person doing the investigation at the particular school will call the student in and ask the student. And sometimes a student will say, yes, I did that, and they may say, I didn't know it was cheating, or, whatever the conversation may go. Other times the student may deny that they did what they were accused of doing. And so our policy allows for faculty to have an informal resolution with the student if they can and if they want to. And again, this all depends upon what the degree of the incident was, what the actions were. Was it a big deal on a high stakes exam? Was it something that was an error that the way that the student explained it, you could say it was an honest mistake, I mean, and again, everything on this spectrum of a degree, I thought I was allowed to bring in open notes because the last exam was, or I didn't know. I mean, and believability, that's really when you're in the space with the person, looking them in the eye face to face. And so, we allow for that. We allow for the faculty member to give an alternate assignment if they want, or we allow the faculty member to say, no, it's not going to be resolved by an informal resolution. And then it goes to a committee hearing at the campus. Again, almost like a jury of your peers, because it's not people from other parts of the university. So it's all within the school, within the program, within the discipline, and what those expectations are. And then, if there is a finding of unethical conduct or a violation of the academic integrity policy, the policy has a series of, depending upon the severity of the action,
measures depending on the severity.
There are different kinds of ways that the student can be reprimanded, and it could go from a reprimand failing the assignment to failing the course to being dismissed from the program. And so, again, and that's all done at the school level. There's an appeal process within there. It usually goes to the dean of the school. There's an appeals dean, and oftentimes the dean is the appeals dean, but they could designate somebody else, and then the last stop after all of that, it winds up in the provost's office for the graduate and professional divisions, and our vice president for the undergraduate division if it's in the undergraduate division. But, by the time it gets there, if something gets up to our offices and it's been vetted all the way through, there's a lot of evidence and data, but we offer the accused a lot of due process as well.
Well, interesting. For my conclusion is, and I think Elvin, we heard it some similar things before, right? So, really, the motivation is something you need to find out. Why did someone cheat? Can be a reason unintended. Don't know about it. Bad day. I don't know. Have you ever considered the number of attempts like of a specific person? So we came across that just recently in another discussion. When I heard about it, I said, okay, that makes sense. Of course, if there is a pattern of one person like over and over again, it's like I don't know, running against those rules, or not, or behaving dishonest in a way. Is that something you consider too?
Yes. I mean, that can be considered by the faculty member and the appeals committee, but I think that that's really the exception rather than the rule, because
Sure.
once somebody is caught and they're going through this, it's not something that you want to do again. And look, when I speak to all of our graduate and professional students at orientation every year, I go around to the different schools, and I tell them, look, I want to see you at all of our great life cycle events. I'm seeing you at orientation. I want to see you at the white coat ceremony. I want to see you at the awards ceremony. I want to see you at match day if you're in the medical school. I want to see you at graduation. I don't want to see you in my office on an academic integrity, violation. And I remind the students, they are in a high stakes program, and the stakes are high. Yeah. They made it to medical school. They made it to law school. They made it to pharmacy school. They made it to PA school. Whatever the discipline is, it's hard. It's harder than college, when you're in those programs, and there's a lot of work. It is intense, and there's a lot of data and information that you have to both memorize and then learn how to apply. And it's long nights. And, and sometimes things happen. Sometimes people get sick. They get the flu. They get COVID. They get mono. Sometimes there's a serious illness in their family. Sometimes there's a death in their family that can be distracting. They lost a best friend. I mean, it could be a myriad of things, because life does get in the way of everything that we do. And I just tell the students, that we're all human, and their job is to go to the dean of students, or to go to academic support, or to go to our mental health and wellness office, and to identify that they're going through something, whether it's trauma or whether it's just a routine. I'm sick. I got strep throat and I have a high fever and I can't study. Nobody's going to say too bad. Right. But I think, and then Thomas, to your question about, perpetual cheating, then there's also how many times can you do that? But in your career in a 4-year program, if you do it 1, 2, or 3 times and it's legitimate, nobody's going to question it. If you're doing it for every single exam because the issue may be anxiety and it may not be something else, well, then there's another way that we can help our students access supports in how to handle anxiety so that they can better take their exam. And I think that that's also part of the human side of higher education as well.
Yeah. And I love this, Patty, because the support system, that's why we have that. And that's exactly what students need to do, is reach out and ask for that support. So I love it. So we're coming up on time, Patty. Awesome conversation. All right, last question for you. What do you see as the future of higher education? And you can put the academic integrity lens to it if you want.
Yeah, look, I think that higher education is here to stay. I think that it is important for a healthy society and for a society that is advancing. I think how it's delivered, I think the future majors and programs, all of that is constantly evolving. How we deliver the curriculum, the mix between the in-person and the hybrid to the online, and what works and how it works. We learned a lot during COVID. And the students come to us. Right now we have students in college who were in high school during COVID. And so, again, you can see a difference sometimes in knowledge and in skills and how people are performing. And I'm not going to say it's better or worse. I'm just going to say it's different. And so that's also a responsibility of the faculty, that we have to meet the students where they are and then take them to where we want them to be, where we want them to go. And so you can't assume that every group of students is the same, every generation is the same. When I was in school, there were no computers. There was not a computer when I was in college. I got my first computer at the end of law school. And so, I went to college with a typewriter, and today people will say, what's a typewriter? It's the same thing.
I know it. I know it.
When I was in law school, there was not a small cell phone. My first mobile phone was a phone bag that you plugged into your car. And today nobody would recognize what that is unless you were in that generation for that small slice of time as the technology evolved. And so I think that's the exciting thing for higher education and for faculty. Sometimes I think faculty get a bum rap because people say, oh, you teach the same course year after year, and you must not have to do a lot of prep. That's garbage. Not only is our knowledge evolving and is a subject matter evolving, but how we teach it, the pedagogy, is evolving and changing. And so we're constantly being challenged. And Touro spends a lot of time. We have a Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning, and we do training and support for faculty every single week of every academic year, so that the faculty constantly have the professional development support that they need in order to do the job to the best of their ability. It keeps them fresh, it keeps them passionate, and when the faculty are passionate, the students know it's contagious.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I love that too. Continuous improvement, right, Patty? It's
Absolutely.
all about. That's fantastic. Great conversation.
Fostering the learning process, huh?
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
Absolutely. Let me outro my guest co-host. He is Thomas Fetch. He's CEO at Integrity for Education. Tommy, thanks for being here as always.
Thank you for inviting me over. And Patty, thank you for this very intense discussion. I really liked our talk today.
So, thank you.
Absolutely. Let me outro you. She is Patricia Salkin. She is Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs and Provost for the Graduate and Professional Divisions and Professor of Law at Touro University. Patty, thanks so much for being with us today.
So thanks, Alvin.
So there you have it.
You guys again soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Patty. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. You've just had up. Thanks for listening to this uninterrupted conversation as part of our Academic Integrity series brought to you by Integrity for Education. Integrity for Education supports your institution by unlocking the full potential of digitalization through the right mix of software solutions, strategic consulting, and sustainable implementation of state-of-the-art technologies. Learn more at integrityforeducation.de. That's integrity, the number 4, education.de.